but at the same time reflecting the interests and connecting people who may not have connected prior. Okay, what is sneaker culture literature? Because here's the thing, whenever there are people, whenever there's a movement, there is literature to support that movement. And, you know, my first love is postmodern Southern lit. That was my specialty area. This is what I live. It's almost like hip hop, right? Rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live. Okay. And that's a KRS-One quote. But the thing is, for me, this is my life, right? Something that's been a part of me since childhood. So having the opportunity to weave it into my pedagogy or scholarship is something I wouldn't have imagined 20 years ago. But sneaker culture literature, definitely, there's a definition there. And I've defined what sneaker culture literature is. And again, I mentioned authentic and inauthentic subscription. We're going to talk tonight about authentic sneaker culture literature and inauthentic sneaker culture literature. You're like, what do you mean? Don't worry, we'll get to that. Okay. Now, these are terms that you may or may not be familiar with. Within the class, Soul Food Digestible Sneaker Culture, which is, of course, named after my book, Soul Food Digestible Sneaker Culture, we use a few literary theories because it's a literature course, right? So we use a few literary theories, African-American theory, hip hop theory, and one of my favorite literary theories, Marxist theory. Okay, these are some simple Marxist terms that we apply to the culture and to the culture's literature.
I'm going to talk to you about.
If you think about
of sound basics,
bourgeoisie, proletariat, commodification, consumption, and reflection, these are terms that repeatedly are drilled or we discuss in class.
The professor's main job is to even out the volume level of an audio track.
What do you think
sometimes they can sing
the bourgeoisie's role is within sneaker culture? Anybody with a take on that?
It can be very difficult to hear the loud parts and soft parts equally. Now, if you turn the volume up to hear the soft parts, then the loud parts will
the target audience for
if you turn the volume down
for manufacturing would be the proletariat, but we'll get to that.
Been to a concert and had trouble hearing the singer. This is where a good compressor can really
indeed, because again, investing into companies, right?
Parts of the audio
yes.
And lower them in a very pleasing way. It doesn't hear the entire signal, the way adjusting the volume.
Absolutely, that definitely is a part of it, and we apply that to popping mics. When we apply that to the culture,
anything below the threshold
that definitely applies. But think of it also this way. So,
and again,
if
you
are a
how much you want
company,
to press this loud part.
You decide what gets retro, right? Anybody here waiting on a specific shoot of retro?
I have a vocal track here from a song of mine called Like a Rope.
Okay. What, in a specific colorway? Okay, so you're a 4 guy. Yes. More Chicago ones. Man, more? Wait a minute. It's like and that part, hold on, that part doesn't surprise me. But I will say this. I remember in 2000, in the year of our Lord, 2009, right? In 2009, I remember walking into class and one of my former students was a ball boy for at the time, the Charlotte Bobcats, right? And I remember he had a relationship with Mike Bibby. Either way, he used to get kicks, just get kicks, right? Some PEs at a time when people were like, what's a PE? This is what I remember this vividly. I walked into class and when I walked in, some students were already there and he acknowledged me. King, what's going on? Chilling, what's up with you? Man, they're killing the ones. This is 2009, right? They're killing the ones. Like, why they keep coming out with so many ones? Like, man, like, it's too many. And I remember thinking, like, in 2009, I'm like, really not making too many ones. Because in 2009, they weren't selling like that. But the fact you want more Chicago ones in 2023, this seems like all they're making. But the point is, back to my original point, companies decide what gets retro. Their shoes
You don't want to be
that I'm waiting on retro and that will never get retro. For example, the Nike Air Delta Force 88. There's one part of me who wants to see that retro, and then there's another part of me who does not want to see that retro. And let me explain the part who does not. There's no way that shoe is going to be made like it was in 1988. In 1988, you could smell the cow mooing. Okay? If that would have come back now, yeah, it would be one of those situations where you're like, oh, one of my favorite shoes is back, and then you put it on, and it feels like a torture device, right? Or it's falling apart and quickly. But the point is, they decide what gets manufactured. Like the companies decide, like, okay, we can put this out, and we're going to put out what gets the most interest. So Chicago ones, right? You want Chicago ones? It's like, hey, let's keep pumping ones until they just become passe. So again, remember the bourgeoisie's role within sneaker culture. And before we move to the next, not yet, before we move to the next slide, definitely need not to gloss over the proletariat. So let me ask you all, who represents the proletariat within sneaker culture? Who do you think represents the proletariat within sneaker culture? The consumer. And largely, who are those consumers? Sneakerheads. Sneakerheads. Okay, hold on, let's get deeper. Okay, what type of sneakerheads? The urban community, okay? Within the urban, okay, let's go deeper than that. Within the urban community, what's unique about the consumer within this particular space regarding the urban community?
Maybe you hate as well.
Hold on, I got you.
Yeah, it's a Phoenix.
What would be considered, bless you, what would be considered a status symbol in an urban community?
Like, bull crowd.
Your shoes, kicks, right? Like, listen, I may not have a whole lot. I may not have
something. I'm like,
home, whatever home is or wherever home is, we may have whatever going on at home, but you see this on my feet, right?
Didn't stop.
And that's a part of sneaker culture. It's always been a part of sneaker culture. Like,
love.
you see how your boy came to class today, right? I may not have lunch.
New Orleans.
I may have some type of, I may not have a lot of things, but I got these. So it's a status symbol. Here's the thing about the proletariat. The proletariat usually has no say, a little say in what gets made, but they make what gets made. What do you think I mean by that? Yes, absolutely. And they're tastemakers. Essentially, they're tastemakers. And again, and we'll be here 5 hours talking about that. But the point is,
I know he's out there.
You have the bourgeoisie who are literally in control of everything, and then you have the proletariat. And I can't leave this part out. A lot of times, and this is not me attacking companies for
It's like the
manufacturing issues, but let's not skate around the issue that a lot of times individuals who are manufacturing a pair of Chicago ones,
not the biggest fan at all.
Cup sole, can't even afford to buy them. Okay, so again, that is also part of what if we apply Marxist theory to sneaker culture, that definitely applies. And again, Dr. Dre has a song, was it like The Day the Ends Took Over? Okay, what happens
or whatever, like to kiss
when, or E40 and the Click, right? The Click has a song called I'm Tired of Getting Stepped On.
He just took it to
and essentially that is Marxist theory. In the song, I am tired of not having, okay? I am tired of being treated with disrespect or like I don't matter. So now I have to rise up. And Karl Marx even talks about that, right? Eventually, the proletariat will get so frustrated with being the last class that they'll do what? They'll go to arms. And we see when people, commit crimes for status symbols, this is inclusion of Marxist theory. All right, we can move forward. Thank you. All right, I want to talk about authentic subscription and inauthentic subscription. If we were to take this outside of sneakers, you already know this, and you probably know it within sneaker culture, okay? An authentic subscriber is not overly concerned about what someone else thinks of their sneaker choice. In many ways, they are tastemaking. Also, there's knowledge that goes along with that, right? Like, real quick, somebody just blurt out their favorite artist of any genre. Okay, so let's say, wow, what a great choice, right? But Now, anything you would have said, I would have been like, it was a great choice because I'm a diverse dude. But here's the point. So I would imagine that you have probably a good, strong knowledge of the catalog and the life and times of Gil Scott-Heron. Am I correct? Okay. So hold on. So let's say, what's a popular hangout here in Blacksburg?
Squires.
Okay, Squires. So let's say we're in Squires, right? Okay. So we're in Squires, right? We're there. And I bump into you. Who said that? I'm sorry, because I can't do the petition. Who said Gil Scott-Heron? No, not I saw you. Oh, you said Gil Scott-Heron. Okay. So I bump into you in Squires. I'm like, hey, that guy Gil Scott-Heron, right? And you're like, okay, like, word? Like, you're into one of my favorite artists? And I get him confused with Scott Bell. That's like Charles in Charge, isn't it? Yeah. Charles in charge of our days and our lives, right? Would you not be offended by that? Hold on, that's Scott, hold on, that's Ralph Macchio, right? Like, man, okay. But here's the point. Yeah, right, because the Netflix, right? Which I have not watched Cobra Kai yet. Can you believe it? And I heard this, I've been told for someone who's such a big wrestling fan that I need to watch that. But here's the point. No matter who your favorite artist is or what genre, that's not the point. You are invested in that artist or in that study, okay? And if someone walked up to you without that knowledge, wanting to interact with you, you probably wouldn't want to interact with them. Like, this guy's posing, right? Or this person is posing. And again, authentic subscription to sneaker culture is that. I mean, I normally don't do this. Let me explain this really quick because it was on my mind this morning. I woke up to this, by the way. There was an IG story of someone lacing a Nike Dunk Low, right? And it was unique. It was revolutionary. But when he finished lacing the shoe was like a Cobra clutch, right? It was like really tight. And I made the comment, again, I'm talking like Jim Cornette. I made the comment, that shoe is laced tighter than Scrooge McDuck at a charity event.
That's fine.
And so normally I don't do that. Like, I thought of it and typed it. I'm like, man, that's unique, but it's laced tight, right? And that's within authentic subscription is not how you lace that shoe. And if someone wants to do that, that's cool. But I made that comment and I regretted it. And this is why. A poster replied to me and said, this was a quote. As a matter of fact, I should read it to you. Hold on. This is from this morning, and I'm going to get to authentic subscription and how this is tied into that. The person replied, if I can get to it. Like the kid never used IG before, right? You're the type, I can remember it, you're the type that would hate if a relative would winning, and that's sad. And I'm like, wow, because I made a comment, I referenced this to Scrooge McDuck, I likened this to Scrooge McDuck, but here's the point. When my brother wins, or my brothers win, or my mother wins, or when my father was alive, I didn't hate on that, but the point is this, authentic subscription, there are certain things that go along with that type of subscription. And it usually comes from the literature, whether it be written or unwritten. And someone who is not an authentic subscriber may want to do something because it's popping, right? Like, what are all the cool kids doing? What are all the cool kids wearing? And that would fall into inauthentic subscription. But the point is, with authentic subscription, there are rules to this, right? Like, there are rules to fashion, which people, respect or not respect. There's rules of registration, right? When you all register for classes, isn't there a protocol of a way you have to do things established? There are cultural mores on campus. So the point is, even though some may not see sneaker culture as elevated as other cultures, there's still a right and a wrong way if you are an authentic subscriber. And again, knowledge is pretty much the foundation of that, okay? Let's move forward. Okay. Now, clearly says here, a genesis of African-American sneaker culture, 1960s. And I'll talk about it a little bit, but I want to take you beyond that. Let's take it back to the 19th century. Okay. So when rubber, the process for vulcanizing rubber became a thing, this is where what we now know as sneaker culture started, like literally 19th century. You're like, what? Like, get out of here. Yes. Let me explain why. Okay. Usually when it comes to shoes, even today, right? If you had a particular good pair of, let's use dress shoes, a good pair of dress shoes, and they're comfortable, they're functional, you love them, and all of a sudden, like, man, the sole is wearing on these, but I don't want to get rid of them. So what might you do? Yeah, get them resold. Or like at times, if you got like heel drag going on, you might get taps put on the heel or whatever. That's typically what was going on in that time, right? People were wearing shoes for function, for performance. And when this vulcanized process of like rubber, making rubber into what would be the equivalent nail. Anybody wearing Crocs? Yes. Okay. The equivalent, think of Crocs, but less durable. Like it was an overshoe when this process was created, 19th century, like Crocs, but just not as durable. And because it was new, it was what's the E word I'm looking for? Expensive. Absolutely. So who could afford who do you think could afford to buy a pair of shoes that didn't last in the 19th century? Who represent which class? The bourgeoisie. Again, it's like, oh, I can actually afford to buy these because I'm not going to take a loss. So that was the earliest example of sneaker culture of, you ain't got these, okay? Legitimately with that 19th century shoes, the closest thing I could reference them to would be Crocs now, but imagine the rubber not lasting as long, right? Really expensive. You can only wear them for a short time, and you can only wear them doing certain things, right? And after that, sports began to, sneakers became a part of sports, and these sports were also attached to class. So we think of sports like polo, sports like tennis, which are still attached to class. Ironically, in the 21st century, I had to think what century we're in, 21st century. But then it wasn't until the 60s where the proletariat was able to acquire sneakers. And there weren't many choices of sneakers in the 60s either. If we talk about sneakers in the 60s, there were Canvas. What is the company that comes to mind when you think of a Canvas sneaker? Converse. Somebody said Vans, but a little later, Vans came a little later. Anybody else with another Canvas shoe from the 60s? Keds, absolutely. Pro Keds, PF, yes. PF Flyers, BF Goodrich, which originally owned Converse. Okay. So, and there were plenty others, but these shoes were all Canvas. Now, initially, they were one or two colors. What colors were they? White or black, right? Ironically. Not a whole lot of flexing you can do if everyone has either or, right? Aha. Yes, you can. Okay. So if everyone's wearing white or black sneakers and you want to stand out from the crowd, you would either do something funky with the laces, which wasn't really that popular in the 60s, but I'm gonna tell you what was. What else? Your socks. What was that drawing me? Eventually, but not too keen at first. Socks. As a matter of fact, I don't know if it's still, because I haven't been on the court in recently. I can say this. There was a time where if you wore a pair of Jordans on a basketball court, that was the signifier that you were better than everybody else. And that may sound weird. I know I'm sounding like a boomer saying that, right? Well, I can remember every time you look up that way. You just didn't do that. Nobody told you not to do it, but you just didn't do that. And when you saw someone come on a court in a pair of Jordans, you're like, oh, we're gonna have to double him. Or they would get picked first because it was just universally known, like you just didn't do that. So here's the point. People began to wear unique socks to signify that they were not the average ball player. And I'm gonna tell you something else too. And there's, you can go research like people talking about their fascination with the Converse Chuck Taylor All-Star. But at one point they were $8 and that was expensive. That was a big deal. So if you were wearing Chuck Taylor All-Stars on court and maybe not PF Flyer, that was their Jordan of the era, thinking like, oh snap, this dude got on. It was one of my favorite quotes, and this is Bobito Garcia's "Where'd You Get Those?" One of my favorite quotes is from Pee Wee Kirkland. And Pee Wee Kirkland said he wouldn't be, I'm paraphrasing a little bit because I'm not reading, but you wouldn't catch me, he wouldn't be caught dead wearing a pair of PF Flyers because Chuck Taylor All-Stars were the epitome. So changing the socks, like funky socks, meaning the colors, not the smell. And then something ill happened. They started making other colors. And navy was one of them. So now it's like, oh, wait, we got other colors? And then right after that, the whole thing exploded in the 70s with the invention of leather sneakers. And the game has not been the same since. But know that this element of sneaker culture started within the African-American communities in the 60s, and it has not stopped since. Next slide. Okay. Now, when we talk about sneaker culture literature, a lot of times individuals don't realize that literature exists in other forms other than just a novella or a novel. Okay, I'm going to use this time to talk about this from my research. During the 90s, which is considered actually 1994 is a big year within the golden age of sneakers. But here's the point. In the 90s, the Trojan horse for the sneaker culture, for sneaker companies, for the bourgeoisie, were TV shows. Now we all know that you can go back and watch shows of various shows that are marketed to various people where you see prominent sneakers. Jerry Seinfeld, right? One of the most famous sneakerheads of all time. You go back and watch episodes of Seinfeld, you always gonna see Superman somewhere, right? Superman is placed prominently in his apartment, but he's always wearing some ill Nikes, right? Always. And some other shoes too, but mainly Nike. But the Trojan horse during the period, during the 90s, was shows directly marketed to African Americans. Who can give me some examples of some of these sitcoms? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, absolutely. And somewhere in here, as a matter of fact, I'll wait till we get to it because it's on the screen. I definitely won't leave that out. Give me another. Absolutely, Martin. There's so many episodes I can think of Martin by what shoes he wore on the show. But wait, there's more. Give me some other choices or examples, excuse me. Living Single, absolutely. Since we're on Fox, because Fox is, you notice we keep coming up with these Fox shows, right? Fox was heavy on this. And this is how, not necessarily how they changed the game, but Fox did things that CBS was unable to do, and NBC started to do more because of the success Fox is fledgling this third network, right? Like this WBO of networks. What are they doing? All right. Give me another, because there's one particular show that you're leaving out that I definitely don't want to, with two, I don't want to leave out. NBC, but yes, absolutely. We'll talk about that as well. But from Fox, can anyone think of two other Fox shows marketed towards African Americans? You said Family Matters? That's ABC, then they moved to CBS and went to their graveyard. They squeezed one more juice glass out of that, but they moved it to CBS. But elements of sneaker culture and family, I was going to say Family Guy, and Family Matters as well. In Living Color, okay? Let me share this as a personal story. There's a skit where Jim Carrey is satire of Vanilla Ice. And I remember that skit because it was the first time I saw the Nike Air Command Force for that long. And we're talking like 1991, that shoe was $178 in 91. Like legitimately, I knew no one that had that. If someone was hustling, they didn't even have that, okay? And the shoe is featured prominently on the skit, and he takes it off and pumps it up, right? Please go and watch that skit. If you don't even love the Nike Air Command Force, just watch it anyway. So in Living Color, and also New York Undercover, okay? For those of you who are maybe aficionados of the Jordan 3, in 94, when Nike began to retro like the Air Jordan 1, 2, and 3, they weren't popping at all. Like some people had them, but retro was not a thing in 1994. And Officer Torres, if I remember this correctly, Officer Torres, there are a few episodes where he's wearing like white cement threes and like I think a Senators hockey jersey. But they, they were detectives. They were fresh. I'm watching it because I'm like, yo, these dudes, I'm like, how can they afford it on a detective salary? Trying to figure out like how much a detective made when I was like in 10th grade. But the point was, because I'm like, they were too fresh. I'm like, man, like you got to be a cop, dog. Like nobody's that fresh. But these shows were used as Trojan horses to get them. They were like 25-minute commercials. And this is a form of literature, okay? It was an advertisement. So you're watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and you're too stuck on his Jordan 5s or the shoe he actually wore the most. Let's go ahead and click because I'm like chomping in the bit to talk about that. Someone mentioned A Different World. Of course, I'm talking a little bit about that in this particular slide because Hillman literally is a combination of Hampton and Spelman, right? And a lot of those shots, that B-roll you see are shots of Spelman, right? Let me talk about something. Let me ask you all this. I was waiting to ask this. On campus, how likely are you to see someone on campus wearing, let's say, a sweatshirt of another school? Is that common?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me some examples of some of the schools you remember seeing sweatshirts of on campus. Okay. What's that? Coastal Carolina. Okay. Chanticleers. Canterbury. Listen, you can't mention anytime someone mentions Coastal Carolina, I'm going into like Chanticleer. I mean, don't even get me started on that. Something else. All right. His wife was tripping. Have you ever read? Anybody ever read Canterbury Tales? Chanticleer's wife was every time I read. Man, that's another. But listen, if you have a wife, listen to her, please. Even if she's tripping, like Chanticleer's wife. All right, but so Coastal Carolina. Any other examples? Okay, JMU, which is not that far off, right? You all go to JMU's library? Okay. You like, nah. What's that? Okay. Let me ask you all this. Are you offended when you see, hold on, because I'm bearing the lead here. Are you offended when you see like some other school, whether it be Research 1, 2, or 32? Like, are you offended by seeing another school on campus? Like, how dare someone wear that Chapel Hill shirt here, right?
No, it depends on the school.
Okay, give me, okay, hold on, wait a minute. So give me one that you.
Like fucking gay on. Like, yeah, I was kind of asking to get, slapped or talked about, Like, I'm from Los Angeles and I'm a UCLA fan. If I ever see USC, I don't care where you are. Like, I'm gonna talk to you like, you got the worst thing on right now. Like, that is trash.
Listen, I listen, the UVA thing, thank you. I was waiting for that. And I expected that, but don't accost someone because they're wearing a UVA paraphernalia. You may like.
I don't be slapped as metaphor.
Okay, gotcha. Now, I understand people charge their phones in Squires. Okay. If someone were to, if a Cavalier walked up to you when wearing a Cavalier sweatshirt, and excuse me, fellow Hokie, can I borrow your charger? If you said no, I would understand why, right? I don't have a charger, dog. Sorry. I don't have a charger. But here's the thing. It is some cultural differences. I remember when I was in grad school at Virginia State, right? And I had just graduated from Elizabeth City State. And at that time, Elizabeth City State had just acquired their intellectual property. Like they didn't have it before 1999. So I know that's a whole nother lecture. When they acquired the IP, all this new merch started coming out, right? It started appearing in places. So I remember I had this ill ECSU shirt. I mean, it was ill. And the shoes I had on too at the time were ill as well. And I remember I walked into the CAF and I sat down. And if you could look at me and tell, when I walk into the CAF, it's not about games, right? So I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, I'm gonna sit in front of this computer for 6 hours and knock out 2 days worth of work, and then I'm going watch TV or something. I remember like literally have my day planned, but I was going to eat so that I wouldn't have to eat for 6 hours. And I remember someone walked by, the look they gave me was the illest look ever. Like, how dare you wear that here? I'm like, yo, but I got a degree from there, right? But the thing is, the HBCU culture is you don't go around wearing other HBCUs at a HBCU. It's difficult for me to explain, but you just don't do that. Now, if I walked into class to lecture with a tech sweatshirt on, no one's going to bat an eye at all. As a matter of fact, let me give you this UVA history. This is, since you mentioned UVA, let me give you this real history. Okay, you all may remember when UVA was, they were a Reebok school, okay? A Reebok school, and I think around 2001 or 2, they switched to Nike. But at the time, the CIAA conference, which Virginia State is a member of, Reebok was a sponsor for, we were a Reebok school. So UVA had all this football paraphernalia that they needed to get rid of. So they were like, oh, let's just give it to Virginia State because they have similar colors. And the players were walking around wearing like Cavalier sweatsuits. Now, if you didn't recognize the IP, you didn't see the Sabres, you wouldn't have thought, because the colors were the same, right? You're like, oh, nice sweatsuit. But I remember walking into the camp, I'm like, oh my gosh, like y'all are wearing like the hand-me-down. Because again, I've always been into IP, always been into merchant. I'm like, y'all are wearing like UVA stuff. But they were like, we want to get rid of it. Do y'all want it? And he took it. But the point is, it's taboo in HBCU culture. If I walked into class wearing this, even if I had a degree from it, if I had a degree from Southern University and I was walking around campus, the way people know me on campus, walking around campus with a Southern sweatshirt on, cats are like, nah, dog, you wear that in the weekend.
What happens if they wore like the Hampton sweatshirt at Howard?
Oh, that's a big rivalry. Same way, it would be the same as someone walking on campus with a UVA sweatshirt on here. Or you wear a Virginia Tech sweatshirt. Is there, you know, the argument about what real HBCU? But yeah, but the point is, I could look, UCLA, USC, University of New Orleans. It wouldn't be a problem, but that would be. How many of you wear retro performance shoes? Like you mentioned a pair of Jordan 4s, which at one point was a performance shoe. You guys wear retro performance shoes? Okay, Air Max 1s. Don't see many retro basketball sneakers because that's currently not necessarily a trend. At one point, was that? Yeah, because later on in the there are people who still subscribe to that, but the trend now is not performance shoes. But I will say this. I commonly refer to the Jordan 3 as the Air Jordan Revolution because that was their original name. Some people are like, what do you mean? What do you mean Air Jordan Revolution? Anybody ever seen the movie Do the Right Thing? Okay. Radio Raheem, chief character Radio Raheem, when he's murdered, for lack of a better term, by the police in that film, he's wearing prominently a pair of Nike Air Revolution. Air Jordan 3 is actually a takedown of the Nike Air Revolution. And if you don't know what takedown means, it's like the cheap version. The Jordan 3 is a cheap version of the Air Revolution. As a matter of fact, anybody ever asked their mom, dad, guardian, grandparent for a pair of shoes? And like, no, I'm not getting you that, but I'll get you this. Yeah. Believe it or not, the Jordan 3 was the shoe you got. And I know y'all are like, this dude is wild. But I promise you I'm not. And if you don't believe me, I invite you to research everything I tell you or share with you. The Jordan 3 was $103 with tax in Virginia back in 88, in 89 when it was still being sold, right? Air Revolution was like $100 and almost $30.
Where was the Flight 89s in that?
Flight 89s is probably in the middle. I can't remember. They had to been, yeah, it might have been about $89, right? Because that still has the soul of the Jordan 4, right? So that Sean Kemp, you know, pictures of Sean Kemp back, like posters of him wearing like a white and black pair of Flight 89s. I commonly call those the Cliff Cars. Like, who is Cliff Carr? A dude I went to school with in elementary school. And Cliff Carr had on a pair of white and black. And I remember like, oh, the Cliff Cars, right? But anyway, what I've been waiting to get my teeth into, the Nike Air Force. Most people think of Will Smith, they identify with him with like a pair of Jordan 5s probably, right? If you go back and watch every episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the shoe he wears the most is the Nike Air Force, and that is not the Nike Air Force One, but a unique shoe that we'll probably never see retroed. Let's move forward. Okay, now, can't skate around this. What does it mean to be authentic anything? But relating to this slide, in sneaker culture, authentic Blackness, unfortunately, because of this literature or this form of marketing, individuals begin to try to certify if someone were Black or not based off what they were wearing. And of course, this type of commodification happens outside of sneaker culture. It has happened way before sneakers, but companies, as it says here, had a large say in projecting that. Are you all familiar with the artist Nelly? Okay. How many of you honestly didn't know Air Force Ones before that song? Anybody? So you knew the shoe before. That song almost single-handedly destroyed. It was like a lethal, almost lethal dosage of poison. The Air Force One at one point was, well, we sit and think about the title company. The best-selling sneaker Nike's ever had is, anyone can guess? Close. That's close, because at one point, they have no idea how many they've made or how many it's been that many. Nope, not the Cortez, but we're getting closer as far as simplicity. Nope. Hold on, I got you. Hold on. Yes. Thank you. The Nike Air Monarch is their best-selling sneaker. But you got to think of, here's some reasons why. First of all, no matter where you live, you are able to, with this, I'm not talking about internet, because of course, wherever you live, you got internet, you can get it. But you can buy the Nike Air Monarch in any city. It's priced to the point where most consumers can buy it. And also, you may not have realized this, it has a full-length air unit. Not a 3/4 or under the ball of your foot, a full-length air unit. So for the price, you're getting a pretty, imagine buying a Lexus LS500 technology for the price of the Festiva. Okay? Like it has more tech than a $500 shoe, a $500 Nike, I can tell you that. But the point is, that's their best-selling shoe because, again, it's marketed to individuals who buy them for performance or utility and not for stunting. Now, I know there's a subculture within the subculture who flexes with Nike Air Monarchs. Don't knock it until you put a pair on. Listen, I was one of those dudes, I was like, yo, DDT me off the top rope before you put my foot in a pair of Nike Air Monarchs. And then I actually put a pair on. I'm like, oh, snap. Like, I did not. The pair is actually a designer pair. And that pair made me, I caught them in the outlet. I looked at it, it was only at that time, I was like, oh, this joint, I remember when they were pushing this hard, like $30, let me get them. And then I freaked them. And I thought like, well, dang, if it feels this good. And then I had a custom pair, right? I had a pair that was like custom. But anyway, the point is, don't knock it until you try it. But the whole original thesis with this particular slide is, unfortunately, companies had a large say in what minorities thought made someone to be legitimate or authentic. Next slide. Okay, sneaker culture literature. Angie Thomas's The Hate U Give is a primary example of not only young adult literature, but what I would consider to be apex sneaker culture literature. You know, we sat and talked about the text. I can go deep into that, and we can have anybody. Have you read the text? Okay. Angie Thomas uses sneaker culture as a Trojan horse to attract readers. But what she's really addressing is inequalities, injustice, and police brutality. Okay. And the film does that. And the book does that. The film is just a little bit different from the book, but there are some key tie-ins to sneaker culture in that text Anybody here like experts on cleaning sneakers or retro, like restoring? Anybody? Or have you ever had a pair of shoes restored? Yeah, it's a lot of work, but because it's a lot of work, people are making money doing that. Like, I remember, I still can't do this to the level my dad does. I remember I watched my dad, some shoestrings that were like dingy. I don't even see shoestrings that dirty in here. He took like some shoestrings that you were probably like, hey, those are candidates for the trash can. I remember I watched this man take a pair of shoelaces and they look brand new. I'm like, dude, how'd you do that? Now I went and tried to replicate what he did, and I did it well, but not on the level that he did it. But here's the thing. When usually parents, and I'm not a parent, but I'm lucky I have had both my parents. I remember my dad would say things like, oh, you got it better than I had, right? And I'm thinking like, well, probably. And then as I got older, I started hearing and learning about how he had it. And I'm like, yo, but here's the point. When it comes to, if you don't have much and you buy one expensive pair of shoes, that pair of shoes has to what? Has to last. And you get creative on how to take care of them. And then you build up these skills to the point where you're like, oh, I can make money doing this. And there are people who will actually, instead of buying another pair of shoes of their favorite, would spend the same amount of money in cleaning or restoring it. And then, like I said, you can make money doing that. But in that particular, in the text, Star is an expert on, like, you got to take care of these. And this is, don't crease your shoes, blah, 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 this and that. And that's part of, definitely a part of original authentic subscription. But Angie Thomas, who herself is a sneakerhead, made sure to include certain aspects of subscription, authentic and inauthentic, to capture the young adult reader, to get them to see what she really wanted to address, which was inequalities, injustice, and specifically police brutality. All right. You ever heard the term, before you move forward, you ever heard the term hood rich? He's like, no. What does it mean?
It used to be rich, but in like a lower class urban type of way.
Right. Essentially, that's it. And of course, status symbols are usually used for hood richness, right? Like the same way what money represents the amount of gold we have, right?
Right.
Okay, so a status symbol would represent the status, but not if you don't have the status. So again, let's say, for example, let's say I have a Lambo, right? But I don't have a garage or a home or the resources to upkeep a Lambo, right? That would definitely be an example of hood rich. Or maybe a luxury belt with a pair of sweatpants that don't have belt loops, right? But again, she addresses it. If you haven't read the text, it is layered. It is layered, and she addresses sneaker culture, but it is a Trojan horse for much bigger issues, if we could. All right, and again, Tupac. Tupac is actually, Tupac once said that if he had a daughter, he would name her Star. And Star is the name of the protagonist in that text. And Thomas, who's a big Tupac fan as well, actually created her as if she was Tupac's daughter. But again, there are some differences in the film and in the text. Primarily the film's cover, like the poster, pays homage to Trayvon Martin, and the cover of the book pays homage to Pac. So again, the two Jordans that most people know are what? Well, now, right? But take the one out of it. We're going to isolate that for us. There's an island off somewhere. What are the other two? 11's definitely in the threes, right? They mentioned it, they have prominent mention in the text. Also, let's talk about, since I'm mentioning authentic and inauthentic subscription, authentic subscribers name sneakers by their name, right? Like, I'm not going to say which particular show I was watching on ESPN or who said it. Actually, no, I was actually on a podcast, and the co-host of the podcast, who works for ESPN, was asked, like, what was his favorite shoes, something, or what was his favorite shoe? And he was like, oh, some Jordans. I'm like, nobody who has a Jordan fan would say that, right? They would name a specific shoe. But in the text, Jordans definitely hold social status, as they typically do in pop culture. And the Space Jam Jordan, right? Space Jam 11s. And True Blues, which outside of the ones were like the two staple shoes that hype beasts or people who weren't in the culture would recognize. Next slide. All right. Double consciousness, right? Double consciousness definitely exists. W.B. Du Bois's double consciousness definitely exists within this particular text, and it exists within sneaker culture generally. But here's the point. Star has to be one person at school and another person when she comes home from school. You know, you don't have to be African American or even American to deal with elements of double consciousness. Are there elements to yourself here that may not be your element? Like, for example, I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing there are probably elements of who you are that you may not be able to display all the time. Okay, for better or for worse, if you've mastered that, that is double consciousness. But as Du Bois says, is, you know, to be both African and American is to be neither, right? And here in his text, Star at school, her classmates, and she goes to a private school, her classmates know her for having the fresh kicks, right? So she's the girl with the fresh kicks. But at home, she even speaks in a different way than she would speak at school. And again, she's not saying it's easy to do, but she is actually displaying elements of double consciousness. Real quick, since I'm talking about double consciousness and sneaker culture, are you all familiar with Run DMC's My Adidas? Okay. I want you to go back and listen to this song and apply double consciousness. So the duality of the sneakerhead, okay? Not Rev Run, but DMC. DMC is a quote from the song. My Adidas only bring good news, and they are not used as felon shoes. A lot of individuals may not realize that's a callback. The whole reason this song was created was a diss track to a song that was created called by Dr. Gerald Dees, who was a little doctor, a medical doctor, but we're talking about duality, double consciousness. His hobby, he was a musician, okay, and a poet. And he made a song called Felon Shoes, okay, or Felon Sneakers. And Felon Sneakers is pretty much, the thesis of Felon Sneakers is, hey, if you wear sneakers, you're going to jail. Y'all laugh pretty quick. But yeah, you're going to jail. And what's worse is that you can't afford a lawyer because you just bought what? Yeah. Literally. So essentially, like, please, it's on YouTube. You can go and listen to the 45. But Dr. Gerald Dees' song, Felon Sneakers, literally says, if you subscribe to sneaker, at that time, it was a subculture, right? But he was saying people who wear sneakers are criminals, okay? That's what inspired Run DMC's My Adidas. That is an answer, a direct answer. In hip hop at that time, you drop a song, it was nothing to get dissed. Somebody like real Roxanne Shante, the real Roxanne. Like, we can go back and we can talk about millions of rappers who just, oh, you got a song? Let me just drop another song using your beat or answer to your song to get me on. So my Run DMC's song, My Adidas, is a response to Dr. Gerald Dees. Their song, of course, is more famous than his, but that's how I got started. Now, let me mention this. So Run and DMC in that song legitimately represent the duality and sneaker culture. Let me explain. Okay, again, DMC, my Adidas only bring good news and they are not used as felon shoes. If you go and isolate DMC's verses, he's talking about his role as a philanthropist, as a vigilante. He's talking about saving women from pimps. Like, I'm stomping out pimps with my Adidas on, right? I'm saving women. Like, I'm a feminist, or I'm celebrating feminism, and with my shoes help me do that. So DMC uses his mic time to talk about all the great things I stepped on stage at Live Aid, the people gave and the poor got paid, right? So he spends his whole time talking about, hey, I wear sneakers, but I'm an upstanding what? Citizen. Okay, so he addresses that. Run is just like, dog, I got 50 pair. Like, I got all these Adidas. I got ones when I want to get ill. I got ones that make me look taller. So he spends his verse talking about, hey, I wear sneakers, but I'm not a criminal. And Run is just, dog, I'm fresh as hell. So again, they represent the duality in sneaker culture, right? Just because you subscribe to an element of fashion, that doesn't represent who you are. You are that person just wearing that. And unfortunately, at that time period, it was hard to separate the individual from the fashion. Now we have presidents of universities. My boss is one of the chief sneaker. He's a first generation, as I am, sneakerhead. I just was involved with a shoe that was made for Vice President Kamala Harris. Think about the highest office, some may argue the world. The vice president is a big fan of Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Now, I don't know if Howard Taft was a fan of any sneaker. I can tell you there's a chair at Johnson C. Smith University that was made for him when he visited, but we don't typically associate sneaker culture with people in positions that high, whether they are leaders on campus, CEOs, or vice president of the United States. But again, double consciousness applied to sneaker culture exists within this text and also exists within Run DMC's My Adidas. Next slide, please. All right, Khalil. Khalil, this is what happens, right? Khalil doesn't care about how he wears his shoes because he knows he can do what? He can buy more. Like, he can just go buy more. Stars like, you're increasing your shoes. Like, you can't do that. Like, blah, 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 blah. But Khalil's not worried about that. He's, and I don't want to give away elements of the story, but the way his character is created, he has to make a funky decision. It's like, okay, do I watch my grandmother die or do I get some money, right? So that's his rationale for doing some of the things he does, but the spoils of that activity, he gets to buy what? Sneakers. And he doesn't care necessarily if he creases his shoes because he just go buy another pair. I talked about their elements of authentic subscription and inauthentic subscription. Thomas, whether by design or not, does not mention shoes by their specific name outside of like the Jordan 3 and the Jordan 11, like the Space Jam and the True Blues. Naturally, they're a microcosm of young African-Americans who subscribe. That's that quote from page 14. Almost reminds me of what's the Christmas movie with Jimmy? Every time a bell rings, was an angel gets his wings. Is that Miracle? Is that Miracle? Yeah, okay, yeah. Every time someone rings a bell, the angel gets his wings. Yeah. Is that not? Does that not look like a callback to that? Every time a sneaker is clean and properly, a kitten dies. Like, wow, man, that's drastic, man. Like, really? Yeah, there are no jokes to be made about dead kittens, so I'm gonna chill with that. But the point is, that shows her place and her thinking regarding whether she clearly is a member of the working class, right, of the proletariat. And even though Khalil feels as if he's risen out of his social class, he's as cemented in the proletariat class as Star is. Cleaning kits aren't cheap. And again, she's already thinking about the commodification of sneaker culture because like she makes money cleaning shoes. Next slide. and I mentioned this already, I buried the lead, but the text is dedicated to bringing contention to police brutality, and it uses sneaker culture as a Trojan horse to address that. Because let's be quite honest, that's not an easy topic to discuss in any platform, but she successfully does that within the text. Next slide. All right. And as far as this particular presentation, those are some sources for that. I know I haven't talked about how the course got started, and I can do that, but let me stop for a second and start taking, if you have any questions, I can weave some of the answers to that and some of your answers to your questions. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns that I can address right now? Yes.
Just like when you have the opportunity to have, if you want. Are there any shoes that stunt double them? Like, when you love the technology and love wearing them, but you also keep an extra pair just in case they don't work from again, or you can't have that.
Okay, so the easiest answer I have to that, like I'm wearing a pair of 33 High, right? The 33 High is my favorite shoe of all time. Let me give this real short story, you know, because this, when I say short story, we're talking about 8 hours, but I'm gonna condense it. So the January 22nd, 1990 issue of Sports Illustrated, John Elway was on the cover. My father had Sports Illustrated, so he had subscriptions way before I was born, and I, you know, when I was of age to recognize and to understand sports, you know, the subscription would come, and I would read the entire magazine before my dad would get home. When he saw that I was doing that, he continued like, "Oh, I'm keeping the subscription going because the young kid is like reading this stuff." Well, at a time, anyway. Here's the point: that particular issue, Patrick Ewing, before like in 1989. From 86 up until 89 was he was endorsed by Adidas. Okay. And here's the thing. His agent was David Falk, who also was the agent or is the agent of what other player that everyone knows. We've been talking about him all day. Jordan. So, all right. So he's representing both Jordan and Ewing. And Ewing was the first lottery pick. So Ewing is like, yo, he's about to be that dude. Nike wanted to sign, I know you probably know this, Nike wanted to sign him. And they decided not to sign Ewing because they already had Jordan. And if they signed Ewing, he was going to get paid more than what? Jordan. They're like, we're going to piss Jordan off. So let's just not do it at all. Right? Adidas signed him like, we got him. We got him right where we want him, right? And he signed Patrick Ewing. But nobody roots for Goliath. If you saw someone in a fight, you would probably root for the smallest person, right? Or if you watched a big championship game and there was a team with a meager record going against a team that was undefeated, you might root for the meager record. And all that to say this, being 7'1", people don't identify with Goliath. And if you're trying to sell products, and you can go and study this, like the players that usually sell sneakers are guards, like point guards, shooting guards, small forwards. I know LeBron is a tweener. Some people identify him as a small forward, even though he's big as a power forward. But the bigger they are, the more likely they are to not sell what? Shoes. So Patrick Ewing had this huge deal with Adidas, mainly to sell merch and shoes, and the stuff wasn't moving. And I don't know if you know anything about the history of Adidas. They stay messing up the road. They mess up all the time. That's a whole other talk, as much as I love Adidas. So they were like, look, Pat, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of headquarters, right? So he became a free agent. And he was like, he mentioned to David Falk, like, let's see what Nike talking about. And David's like, why would we do that? Like, just make your own. Just make your own shoe company. Like, we got the means of production. We are the proletariat. Okay. Excuse me. We are the bourgeoisie. Just make your own. This was unheard of at this time. Patrick Ewing was the first athlete to own his own company. So he began to manufacture his own shoes. And I remember the day, the January 22nd issue, 1990, Sports Illustrated came. I was reading through it, and it was a story on Patrick Ewing. And go and check the caption. This is burned. It's a core memory. He even goes, the caption said he even goes motoring in his own shoes. And I remember looking at the 33 High like, oh my God. It looked like art. I don't know if you've ever seen something and thought of it as art, but I looked at the 33 High and was like, yo, this is, in 4th grade or 5th grade, I'm like, this is art. And I remember getting up from my den, and I normally didn't do this. I had sneakers and stuff, but I normally didn't do this, right? To go and ask for a specific shoe by name. This might've been the first time, or the second time I did this. Walk to the house and see where my mother was, open the book up like this, and I get these. like literally. She looked at it and she was like, okay, I get paid next week. Let's go put them on layaway. And I, to say, because I wear a 13. My true size is a 13. I'm 46 years old. Guess what size I was wearing in 5th grade? A 13. Okay. So her thing was put them on layaway was, well, I'm not going to buy them until next week, but because you wear a grown man's shoe size, it might sell out, right? It might be sold. So she was like, if we reserve them, that means you won't be disappointed. Anyway, long story short, we're going to put them on layaway at a small store called New York Fashions, Franklin, Virginia, mom and pop store. I forgot all about these kicks. The next week came, she came to pick me up from school the next Friday. I'm thinking like, what's the special occasion? Like I was about to go on the bus. And I'm like, oh, we're going to get those shoes, right? Got to the store. I walked in with the $60 to put down. The proprietor was like, sorry, our store was robbed. It gets worse. Don't listen, it gets worse. Our store was robbed, and including your layaway was in that. And she was like, well, and by the way, my superpower is patience. I can wait 20 years is 15 minutes. Okay, this is literally my superpower. This is one of the few times I didn't use my superpower. She said, I can order you another pair, but it's going to take 2 weeks. I don't know if you've ever like had leftovers, like waiting for you. Like when I get home, that burrito is mine, right? Well, this particular day, I'm like, oh, I'm about to have new sneakers on Monday, right? Not that my sneakers were wore out. I'm about to go, Monday, I'm wearing new sneakers. When she told me 2 weeks, I'm like, nah, dog, I need new sneakers. So she said, I can give you your money back or we can order them. I'm like, you just give me the money back. We went to like a store called, pretty much it's Belk's, like Belk's now, and I got something else. So I never had a pair of Ewing. Oh, the company, their store shut down. They never recovered from the theft. They ended up shutting down not long after that. That was the only place in Franklin, Virginia to get Ewings, and I didn't get a pair to 2012. Now, here's the thing, to answer your question, all that to get to your question. I literally I think sometime right after college, so maybe I graduated from undergrad in 2000, so somewhere around 98, I started to see certain shoes that were not being made again just pop up. And I'm not even thinking like, somebody's gonna bring these bad boys back. So I started saving a little money at a time just in case the 33 high came. Now, I have to mention this on the story, and I'm gonna end it with this. Let's fast forward to 2006. I'm in office hours. You all go to office hours? Anybody? Wow. Okay. I'm sitting in office hours, me, myself, and I, right? Because nobody's coming by. So I'm on YouTube. This is like in 2007. I'm on YouTube just looking at videos because me being Captain Save a student, I set my office hours after my classes. So I'm sitting in my office from 3 to 6 p.m., right? Just in case students are in class. I'm like, they may need me and I want to be here. So I'm sitting there and nobody comes. And I remember there was this video in Toronto, Canada, of this gentleman asking some random guys by the transit, like by the train, questions about Ewings. And I'm watching this like, why is this dude asking these specific questions? This dude knows something. He has to know something. So I get his email and I just blind emailed him. What up, dog? Jermaine King. You don't know me, but let me tell you, right? You know something about this shoe because I see the questions you're asking aren't general questions. So what's up? We end up becoming, over the next 6 years, really tight, become boys. Almost like foreign exchange, right? Like literally the relationship. And one day he lets me know like, hey, me and my partner are struggling to try to buy the license for Ewing Athletic. And in 2012, it was over, they got it. So that, to answer your question, is I saved money from like 1998 to 2012, just in case the 33 high was brought back, that I would have money to buy it. And here's the thing now, usually when I wear them, I don't even wear them all the time. Like it's always ceremonial. I got a pair on now because I'm at Tech, but the point is, I don't just put them on to be putting them on, right? That's how I think of the 33 high. The 33 high for me might as well be a couture, right? And I don't wear it with suits and things like that, but what I'm saying in my mind, like this is high cotton, right? So yes, to answer your question, the 33 high, I'll never have to buy another pair again. But the point is, yes.
Follow-up. Do you ever feel any guilt or difficulty having multiple pairs when you know they're so rare and other people they do the same? You feel they can't get them out.
That's on them. So here's the thing: they're not that hard to get. I mean, if you're within the sub community, the UN community, because that's a subgroup, they're not that hard to get. But I'm like, look, let's think of the 33 High as an Impala, not in the car, but like a deer, right? And think of me as a lioness. And I'm not saying I'm a woman, but lioness don't they do the hunting, right? All right, they hunt, right? And lions hunt because they're hungry. I'm not worried about. I'm just trying to eat. You feel where I'm coming from? So if someone misses out, like you should have studied, like you should have been up on your arts, right? You should have been ready for that. I've been preparing myself for this battle since 1989, 90. Go back to your dojo, dog, and prepare better. But no, I have no thoughts of that. Don't feel sorry for them. Like, hey, survival of the fittest. And if you subscribe, if you're one of those people who subscribe and you are aficionado of the 33 High, just don't be the slow gazelle. Because I'm gonna be the fast lioness, right? Or Impala. But thank you for that. Thank you. Others, yes.
So do you have a sneaker, or is the 33 High this for you?
Okay.
It's like a sneaker that's like a grail in your head that's like all that you might not have even ever have been able to get because they're so rare because of
So the 33 High was that, but there's something that comes close, okay, that I legitimately have not had. So the original Reebok Pump is now marketed as the Bring Back, not the Twilight Zone or the Omni Zone 2, or because I've had all those. I've had I just got a pair of Twilight Zones recently, but the original Bring Back, if I were to go sniping looking for a pair, like people are selling those bad boys like $800 up. Right? Are you guys familiar with Belle Biv DeVoe, like the group? If you go and look at their first album, Poison, right? Like Mike Bivins, this is back when like looking at album art and reading the credits was a big deal. Mike Bivins is wearing an outfit so ill he could wear it right now and it'd still be ill, right? And I'm a huge Mets fan, so that's a whole other story. But he's wearing like this Mets outfit, and he has on the Bring, what do you call it now, the Bring Back pumps, and they came out '89 with that. And I remember looking at that as a kid, like, this guy has to be rich. Like nobody puts together, like, to be able to have access to that means he's a part of in my mind, even though I didn't know Marx's theory then, that he had to have it like that, not realizing the A&Rs are probably putting clothes together, even though they say that group was them not using A&Rs. They were wearing the stuff they normally wear on stage, and that was the difference in why BBD was so popular and not in the same lane as New Edition. But the point, I cannot get my hands on a pair of those. Now, I'm not going to drop $800 on a pair of sneakers. I don't care where I'm at in life. I'm just not doing that. But that is, if I was Ahab, that would be my Moby Dick, right? And we all know what happens to Ahab, right? That's not happening to me. So at least not over a pair of kicks. But you can call me Ishmael, because I will tell you the story. Are there others?
I guess like the apps and all that has changed with what it has. I guess like I was big into the sneakers probably mid 2000s.
Mhm.
You had to like line up, you know what I mean? And that would be a spot. I just wonder, like, to me, it's being like Marx's theory or whatever. I feel like access is probably a little different now. But I'm curious to get your thought.
So here's the thing. When it comes to like apps, like what is it, like the sneakers app, right? That's when people say it's sneaker apps, that's the one people are normally referring to. I've never had that app, nor will I. Now I'm not knocking someone else for getting it, because if we think about that type of marketing, so what Nike, or specifically the subdivision Jordan Brand does, or what they have done. So in 12 months, let's say in 12 months, one wants a particular shoe, right? Every month there's a drop, multiple drops on a month. Let's say you miss out, you keep missing out. And then you're starting to feel a way about that. And then November comes and all of a sudden you don't miss out. That's on purpose because November, they release more of the shoes in November, building you up to when? To Christmas, right? So you'll start noticing people will start hitting on the app. And I know there are tricks and techniques for how to finesse the sneakers app, but people will hit on shoes that they may not have worn in January, but they're so pressed by November that when they get a pair of Oreo 5s, like back in like 2000, was it 11? Like when they get those, like, oh my gosh, I finally got in. Well, you got in because it's triple the amount of those. I'm not a fan of sneaker apps. The sneakers that I want, there are other ways to get them, and I don't necessarily mean like paying above retail because that's not my steez. But as far as apps, nah. I get what those apps are, great marketing tools to build up fear of missing out. It's creative marketing. How many of you who subscribe, anybody have any success stories with like you hit on the sneakers app? Okay, how? Like, tell me what was unique about you at the time you were successful.
I was actually in the mountain without like risking that reception, not so I was bouncing down. Reception, no reception, reception, no reception. And so like within a minute, like I didn't know if I was gonna snipe him or not. So when it came out of 10 seconds, I didn't have any reception. I got it, and then I was waiting for like 5 minutes. So like you almost touched him. About maybe get the seats not. 5 minutes came out to me like.
Which pair was it? Okay, no doubt. Every once in a while, right? Like the heavens will open, right? Like someone has to get through. And that particular day was your day. Anyone else? Any success stories? Yes.
In general, like I got a lot of sneakers because like I research skate sneakers also, but I've noticed that with the sneakers app in particular, the more you buy, the more they let you hit. So if you go for every single release, eventually you're gonna get to a point where you start copping like almost every other release. Like I probably had like a 6-month period when I was hitting like almost every other shoe. Like from everything from like off-whites to like just general Jordans. Like so, and I even have a few like exclusive access. But as soon as I stopped going for every release, I stopped hitting. I probably ain't hitting like 3 months.
Which is similar. I'm glad you mentioned that. Which is similar for if you know anyone who like a mom and pop store, like Nike traditionally doesn't. They won't let you have the sneakers that will sell unless you order a lot of the merchandise that won't. So it's like, okay, for your establishment to be hot in the streets, right? For you to have people coming into your doors, you have to spend on things that you probably not going to sell. And that ends up ending businesses. So you say the minute you stop buying everything, you stop hitting on the stuff that you wanted. That's really similar to how they have treated small and even big companies, right? Like they got beef with Foot Locker right now, right? Yeah, so yeah. Others, yes.
November, December, my
Look, one of my favorite quote from Martin, I wonder why Wayne Mandela, right? But yeah, a lot of November, December, because it's like, okay, that's when people are spending, right? People are spending and they save the stuff that you want for that and they give you more of it. But in April, when you're trying to get some off-white, whatever, like 4s or whatever's hot at the moment and whatever's like in low quantities, you miss on that. But when those 11s drop, excuse me, how many of you see a lot of cherry 11s on campus? Okay. No matter what campus you're on, you're going to see a lot of those. You know why? When do they drop again? Right? Like drum, like cymbals. But yeah, so November, December, all of a sudden you end up hitting, and because they got more stuff to push, and that's their season. Yes.
Sneakers that democratize getting access to rare sneakers, like even if you mind, let's say it's 2006, we're lined up outside the downtown Richmond DTLR, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's right here, right?
Okay.
So like
Okay.
say you're there, And even though you pull up in 2 hours before the store opens, whatever, you find up. There's no guarantee they're gonna have a size 12 of the Jordan 4s you're hoping to get, because somebody might have left it with the homie that's coming, you know what I mean? Like that's how that works, ultimately at the end of the day. So yeah, so I don't know, you know what I mean? Like part of me thinks that anybody with a smartphone could get out of this has. But then there's also that, like you're saying, like the actual how that works. Not everybody gets to keep the shot.
Yeah, and there's always going to be a way to cheat, right? Unfortunately. But again, what you just mentioned is how Ewing went out of business first time. Like that backdoor stuff. They were backdooring sneakers. At one point, Ewing Athletic was a problem for Nike, right? It was a problem because it was synonymous with hip hop, right? And all of a sudden, like they started losing inventory, like backdooring and people hooking people up. And Patrick was like, "Yeah, shut it down." But to your point, I have a lot of great stories about people I've met during that era that I'm still tight with. You among them, and I was virtual as well, right? Over that time, that's become not such a thing anymore. Because again, you could be like, again, sitting at home, like, hey, I put my work in, Nike, like, let me go and get these. Or you could be like in a rural place or somewhere without Wi-Fi and just happen to hit. Like buying it from the comfort of your bed or couch beats the whole heck of a lot of standing online for 6 hours before a store opens, not knowing if your size is going to be available because somebody's already backdoored it or hooked the homie up, right? Yeah, so that has changed the game a little bit. And unfortunately, here's the thing. If you are a subscriber, whether it be authentic or inauthentic, there's someone looking to make money off that. And that someone may not be a corporation. It could be just someone with access to technology, more to like, hey, how much does a bot cost now? I know that people are getting wild, companies are trying to thwart that, but if somebody bought 15 bots, they're not trying to get Energon cues with those. They're trying to get all the sneakers you want and sell them to you at a markup. And I got my own feelings about that. Like, man, how much work do you actually have to do to make an extra $50, right? Because sometimes that's what it ends up being. Chipotle is paying pretty well from what I hear. When I saw like not long ago, I'm like, man, they're paying that, like, man. But the point is, and did you all see the story about Nike with the CEO and her son? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm like, wow, I guess this just happened, right? It's like seeing pestilence. You see one bug, that bug is by itself, right? One represents hundreds or thousands. But anyway, yeah, unfortunately, the game is changing because of individuals who are looking to capitalize, right? Off the backs of tastemakers, or for lack of a better term, usually the lower working class, which would be the proletariat, right? Others, yes. And then yes.
When did you connect Marxism with sneakers?
So when I created, okay, so that's a great question, and thank you. Way back when, so I'm gonna take you back to essentially 2000, spring of 2014. And we were asked, I was at the time faculty at Johnson C. Smith University. And there were some individuals who were definitely years ahead of the game. And I remember in a meeting, and I was one of those guys in a meeting. I don't like meetings, like broadcasters. I don't. It build up like tenacity, but at this time, so I don't mind the work. Like I feel like instead of having a meeting about doing the work, let's let me go do the work, right? Tell me what needs to be done. But this is what happened. We were in a meeting, and we were asked, does anyone have any ideas for like new or innovative courses? And I remember thinking like, yeah, I got one, but like, you're not going to understand it, so why bother, right? And it got to the point where I wouldn't say anything, and I remember Dr. Matthew DeForest asked me specifically, it's like, Jermaine, do you have an idea? And I remember saying a couple things, and he was like, well, how soon can you get a syllabus? I'm thinking like 20 minutes, right? A long story short, Class Soul Food Digestible Sneaker Culture is how it became the first English course dedicated to identification within sneaker culture and sneaker culture literature. So, literature courses typically use literary theory. And because I know that this is not going to get looked at, like they're going to be members of the establishment, right? Or traditionalists who are not going to see this as being like legit, try defending that in a dissertation. But I attached Marxist theory to it because it was a literary theory. It was my favorite literary theory, or I shouldn't say one of my favorites, but I thought it mixed well with sneaker culture. So it was pretty much like, hey, I got this. Here's my professional side. And here's me, right? So I was Bell Biv DeVoe. Instead of like the stuff I was wearing outside of work, this gives me an excuse to wear it to work, right? But yeah, so it was pretty much a melding. We talk about double consciousness. Was a melding of the personal Jermaine and the professional Jermaine. And thank God it's worked. Yes, ma'am. You got a question?
Yes, I'm interested in your thoughts about maybe where things are headed, especially with like thinking about Ewing and the things he was trying to do, and then folks maybe like Stampede Deck with her company like Tronus. Why is it that we maybe don't see, aside from just these large engines of like corporate engines like Nike and these other places, like besides them just being very, very big, old and established, why do we not see brands like Cronus picking up the status in the street? Why are people not wearing those sneakers? How do we get Black brands to be the ones Black people want on their feet?
Great question. So here's the thing. What are those naturally that's a real thing, but that slide that talked about authentic Blackness, where that's literally, your question literally deals with that. Okay. These brands are so tied in with people's identification that anything outside of that means they are lesser than what they are. And a lot of times, and this is something like I'm coming down on inauthentic subscription, but inauthentic subscription is more concerned with what someone else may think than how they actually feel. And you just mentioned what Tronus, and you as an example, they're cult patrons or subscribers to that, but the majority will still be like, let me give you an example what I'm about to go into. You all see those those Astro boots that are popping? I actually don't. I think they're pretty cool, but then again, I grew up playing Mega Man, right? So, like, they look like video game characters. Not saying I want to be a video game character, but I mean, I think that's an example of couture or a higher fashion. Most people, well, I've read the comments, right? Like, oh, what in the world is this whack? I don't know what, such and such and such. And then all of a sudden, an influencer, someone with influence wears them. Seth Rollins did a curb stomp Monday night wearing a pair of those. Oh, they got that shoe over in the wrestling community. Or Lil Wayne, was it last week, had a pair on? Like, yeah. So here's the thing. They were whack. And I actually wrote about this in Soul Food, right? They were whack until I saw someone I like wearing them, or a celebrity wearing them, and they'll give me 4 pair. So imagine if, and this is what happened with Ewing, right? Hip hop community was wearing Ewings heavy in the 90s. As a matter of fact, when I think of Gang Starr, I think of the 33 High. As a matter of fact, the opening moments of Just to Get a Rep is a slow shot of the 33 High, black and white 33 High stepping, and then someone dropping like a beer bottle or a bottle, right? And I remember like thinking like, oh, or Crisscross, if you all remember Crisscross, right? Crisscross routinely wore Air Force Ones and 33 Highs with Levi's backwards with whatever starter baseball jersey he had access to at the time, or starter jacket and a hat. So seeing all these popping artists at the time made that brand pop. It was synonymous with hip hop. Unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate. Today, entertainers have more influence on sneaker purchases than athletes do. But because modern entertainers aren't necessarily wearing those 2 specific brands, the person who's looking for validation is not going to see them as something they like because they haven't been validated yet. So unfortunately, there's a lot to do with seeding. Not long ago, and I will mention this, it's a little insider knowledge, Fabulous and Tiana Taylor. Ewing Athletic wanted to push these two particular colorways of the 33 high. One was a gold pair, one was like a Gucci inspired pair, and they paid Tiana Taylor and Fabulous a significant amount of money a piece to post the shoe on their IG. And Tiana Taylor probably still has a lot of followers, right? To post them on, and Fab probably still does too, to post them on their IG and to show up courtside the Knicks Nets game back when the Nets were just a few years. I think this is their 10th year. This is their 10th season in being in Brooklyn. But they were paid a significant amount of money to just post the shoe and to show up to one game wearing it, right? And I'm not going to say I know how much they were paid, but I'm not going to go into that. But that was to drum up interest in those colorways. And those two colorways to this day are two of the best-selling 33 highs, and also the two pair with the best materials, like with the most expensive materials, to the point they haven't been retro yet. So again, the whole thing about like, hey, that shoe's whack. Those Astro Boys are whack, dog. But Wayne just wore a pair. I gotta have them, all right? Or Seth Rollins or all these other people who won. Yes.
What do you think about it's a long time coming, with the Nike and Nike?
So
Yeah, we make kind of.
so oh man, so here's the thing, right? It's it's cool when they do it, right? But it's a problem when I do. So this has been going on, yeah, like legitimately. But now it's like, man, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna say this is what part is ridiculous, right? Like now the proletariat is now getting the means of production. Like people are sitting, your next door neighbor can make shoes, can manufacture shoes now. That's a great thing. Now they have the means of the modes of production, and what do? They go and copy a shoe that's already made. Like, man, you actually can make whatever you want, but because like everybody wants to wear something with a cup sole, whether it be something Dunk-esque, Jordan 1-esque, Air Force 1S to a small extent, they're just making their versions. And I remember this guy. This shoe can be, you can go and buy a bunch on like what DS is it? Was it Alibaba, DS? What all those websites? Was that? Yeah. So he was like, hey y'all, it was a sneaker group. It was like, hey y'all, I'm dropping my first shoe. I'm a tourist, so I wanted to incorporate that in my shoe. And what the silhouette was pretty much it was a dunk, right? Instead of a swoosh, it was a bull's head with like a vector behind it. So he was telling everyone in the group, I'm a tourist. This is my story by my kick. My first thought was like, I mean, that's a decent story for someone who's just a regular person like you and me. And then I went to the website and saw they were selling that same shoe. And I'm like, oh, so you went and bought a specific colorway in bulk for probably $23 a piece. And you're telling everyone that this was your inspiration. People are getting sued, or companies are getting sued because people are just doing that. It's like, hey, what's something I think of? Give me a random picture or something, like a random symbol.
Peace.
You said a peace sign? That's perfect. Throw up a peace sign, put a vector behind that bad boy, and throw it on a dump. And then like, yo, dog, I got my own company, dog. Like we out here, we making moves. Let's build, fam, right? Buy my kick. Support Black businesses, right? All the things that people say, things that people say to guilt trip people into buying certain things. And Nike's like, oh, we actually see the deficit. We see the loss in this. So now they're taking to arms or litigation up, right? And they're suing even down to Bape. And I always thought that Bape, because they're an Asia-based company, that the copyright laws didn't necessarily apply. I remember speaking in China for like 14 days. Let me tell you, the legal bootlegging there is ridiculous. I'm not talking about like bootlegging of like popular sneakers. There was like I walked past this restaurant that was called the Maybach Lounge. Like with the Maybach intellectual property there. Like legit, this is a real story. I literally walked past it. I may have pictures. I'm like, wait a minute. The Maybach Lounge, right? That was not affiliated with the company. It was like Benz, right? Subsidiary Benz. But the bootlegging and the copyright laws there are different. The fact that Nike's like, you in the back, yeah, we're coming for you too. I'm thinking like, wow, they really aggravated. But this could all change. And there are certain smaller businesses, niche companies, mom and pops, who are making their own shoe, but they're changing it enough to the point where it is something different. But people aren't willing to put in the work. They're just like, hey, y'all like dunks? I'm making a dunk. It's got my smiley face on it. Support Black businesses or support businesses or small businesses, support people from Cleveland, like whatever excuse they're using. Nike's just like, nah, y'all cutting into our dough and we're not having it, unfortunately, for the people who are getting sued. And there's a two main, there's been pushing a lot of units. Won't mention the companies by name, but yeah, they don't even like each other. And now they're like, they're co-defendants, which is crazy.
It was wild about Big too, was like, it was luxury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody ever thought of them as bootlegs. Because wait, we're talking like let's say 2000. You dropping $240 on a pair of Air Force One lows that are like inspired by Air Force Ones. Nobody's gonna look at you and be like, there was a company called A-Town that was making Bape-esque quality. Yes, I still have a couple pair of those. And I remember getting them from DTLR and thinking like, man, the colorways were ill, right? They felt pretty much, they didn't have the Nike Air, but they weren't uncomfortable. They weren't bricks, as we say in the culture. They didn't last that long, but the shoes were dope. But this whole thing about, let me just take your whole silhouette and add my herbs and spices to it, and there's a whole new, imagine selling Kentucky Fried Chicken and calling it something else, right? It wouldn't be lasting long. Franklin Fried Chicken, but what I'm really doing is going to Kentucky Fried, buying theirs, and selling it at a higher price or adding some paprika. Here we go. Are there others next? Yes.
Sneakers is like, I'll grab a sneaker from my closet and I'll look at it and be like, man, I put so much stuff in there for me to feel it. Do you have a specific pair of sneakers with like specific vivid memory from like when you were younger, from whenever in your life that you could tell?
A specific shoe with a memory?
You did something specific in these specific pair of shoes, like story.
So young or at any age. Okay, so let me give you this particular story. So when I gave a TED Talk in 2017, right? I had picked out the suit that I was gonna wear for this TED Talk way before I made the finals. It was like, at one point I realized, I'm like, okay, there's a good chance. People are asking me for help that I'm competing with. There's a good chance that one of these spots might be mine. So I had this suit, like, if I make it, this is a suit I'm gonna wear. Now, I know that it's become pop culture to wear sneakers with suits, right? And I've done that before, but that's not something I normally do. If I'm dressed this way, I'm dressed this way. If I'm dressed in a suit, I'm dressed in a suit. I'm a traditionalist in that way. So at one point in the practice, I believe it or not, I wasn't involved. I wasn't using myself as an example in this TED Talk. And it was said to me one day at practice, like, hey, you're an example of that. You should talk about you. And I didn't want to do it because people are already like, you own yourself, talk about it. And they pretty much explained subtly, like, do that or not, or just get out, right? They didn't say it in that way. It was like, either make that change or holla, right? So naturally I made the change. So fast forward to 2 days before stepping on the red carpet and go up and do my last practice run. And one of my colleagues asked me, what sneakers are you wearing tomorrow? Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, literally, my face was like, what are you talking about? Like, why would I wear sneakers? I'm about to be like literally in households all across whatever. I'm not wearing sneakers for that. And then the person said to me, but you're talking about sneakers. Then my whole speech clearly wasn't about sneakers, but it kind of stuck with me. I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this. And I start thinking, like, wait a minute. You ever seen the movie, what's the kids in the baseball? The Sandlot. You ever seen the Sandlot? Thank you. Okay, Sandlot is a great movie. It comes when I'm watching it. Benny, right? Remember when Benny had to go get the ball? I mean, it was not Benny, but the Jet. Remember when he had to go and get the ball, right? He went and he was wearing a pair of PF Flyers, but he went to get the new pair because he needed to be fast enough to get this ball without, was it Hercules? Dog ended up being Hercules, being bit by Hercules. I have those shoes, right? I have the black with the gum bottom. I'm like, wait a minute. I started thinking, like, that looks like something you could wear with a suit. So I'm like, this is me, the best of both worlds, right? I don't want to wear sneakers with this, but if you're watching this live or on YouTube or wherever, you might not know that I'm wearing sneakers, even though I am. So that memory, because I did not want to wear sneakers that day. I'm like, yo, this is my coming out party. Like, this is me, like that kid, like that dude, right? The dude in the back of the faculty meeting, right? But I didn't want to wear sneakers that day, but I thought that was a compromise. And one more time, I had to mention this as well. So again, you know, the way I'm dressed now is for this particular type of event. I was invited to speak at my alma mater for Library Week back in like 2018, right? Now here's the key part of this. Was mentioned in the bio, the M6 Network in Paris, France. They flew a reporter out from Paris to interview me for a documentary on sneakers. And it just so happened I was speaking at my alma mater when they reached out to me. And I remember I got this call, I got an email first, which I thought was spam. And then I ended up having this phone call. And I'm thinking like, what? You want to do what? For what? And my first question was, how did you know about this? And it's like, because it's on your website. So anyway, the young lady who followed me for a couple of days with all this B-roll and up to the point where I spoke, we were riding around Elizabeth City because she was like, I want you to take me where you used to work. I want to walk around campus. I want to see you interacting with people, blah, blah, blah. We're doing all that. So after we leave Hibbett Sports, is where I worked in college, I said to her, well, like, I got to go back to the hotel because I got to change into my suit. You know, I got to go get prepared for the engagement. And she was like, why are you putting on a suit? So I'm speaking at my alma mater. And at the time, the Pro Bowl, like a lot of people, campus, like big wigs come to that. Like, you expect me to step out in a pair of basketball shorts, in a t-shirt, and a pair of 33 high? Because I could do that, but I'm not. And I remember her thought process was like, I don't understand. You wearing a suit, but you're talking about sneakers. And that's a whole nother conversation. But to answer your question, yeah, that particular pair of PF Flyers, same pair featured in the movie The Sandlot, and I wore when I gave that TED Talk because I was still wearing sneakers, but it didn't look like I was wearing sneakers. So yeah, yes.
That's about kind of that point about people's expectations of the culture and craft. So one thing, to me, I like technology, I like structure, I like design.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been removing myself from people culture because the coverage on it and the way they're introducing and rolling out shoes. They're leaving a lot on celebrity, they're leaving a lot on like technology tricks instead of actually describing the shoe and how it's better and the design. How do you feel about the journalism piece of the current sneaker culture, whether it be the blog or the company themselves, and how they're really rolling out and describing what's happening?
That is an example of apex in authentic sneaker culture literature. Authentic sneaker culture literature is literally things that we're talking about now, right? The stories attached to it, the histories, you know, rationales. Inauthentic sneaker culture literature is used for one thing, to generate sales, okay? Anybody remember like the Scholastic Book Fair, right? So, you know, baller status, you know, me rolling into the Scholastic Book Fair, coming out with like 6 Goosebumps, right? And a Lambo poster, right? So the Lambo poster is pretty much what the literature you just talked about, that's the Lambo poster, right? Because a lot of times if you mention to just the average person sneaker culture literature, they're going to think about some book with pictures of all the shoes they couldn't hit on, right? Just literally pictures of like a bunch of dunks from SBs or a bunch of Jordans that most retail places didn't have, like Tier Zeros had. That's their idea of sneaker culture literature. And it is apex in authentic sneaker culture literature, because again, maybe you can't buy a Lambo, but you will buy that poster of it at the Scholastic Book Fair, right? And you may not be able to buy a pair of, I don't know, off-white ones, right? But this book has pictures of it. Same way, you might not be able to date someone from the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, but you might hang the picture of the said young lady or the woman on your wall, right? So again, it's the same thing. Those are examples, apex examples of inauthentic sneaker culture literature. And that literature is made specifically to sell products or to get, if you can't buy the product, you'll buy this to get something.
Speaking of that, I guess we think like really high quality reps.
I'm not a rep person, if anything. I will say this, one of my cars is a 80,000 miles. I got a 2002 Lexus GS300 and I have replica Lexus rims on it, right? Because I'm one of those people, I don't believe in aftermarket rims, but you wouldn't know they were replicas. Even if you were a car head, right? You wouldn't know they were replicas, like I told you. That's about as far as replicas I'm getting, right? Because here's the thing, right? The tag team, the wrestling tag team, the Young Bucks, right? The Young Bucks are a heel tag team. To get people to boo them, they do things to aggravate people. It's called getting heat. In profession, it's called getting heat. One of the things the Young Bucks did to get heat was they started wrestling in shoes that people couldn't get. So you all remember the Dior Jordan 1s? Okay, they came to the ring one night and wrestled a 6-man match in a pair of Dior. Both Young Bucks had on a pair of Dior 1s. My first thought was like, okay, wait a minute. Pretty much know how much they're getting paid. Could they probably afford? Probably. But these are clear. I got to, did a little bit more research. They were clearly reps. Clearly reps. The whole thing about it is this, and I'm not knocking anyone for their choices, but status symbols. We talked about proletariat bourgeoisie. Individuals who are probably wearing reps aren't fooling many people. Now, I know the Panda, the Panda Dunk, there are plenty of reps of those out. Who cares? Because this is a cup sole shoe in the first place. They're probably made exactly the same out of a different factory, but the thesis is that I'm not a fan of it. Would be fooling anyone. Most people, insiders know, right? The same way when it comes to like luxury goods, like purses. If I can identify a fake Louis Vuitton, I know somebody who's heavy into purses can. So why? Just the question is why. And again, if you're someone who subscribes to reps, it's not a diss track dedicated to you, but the answer is no. I'm not down with replicas. Off-brand products at Food Line or Winn-Dixie or whatever grocery store, I'm cool with that. Because it's essentially the same product, like with different packages. That's been proved. But yeah, replica Dunks, no, I'm good. I can actually get the real ones. And if I don't want a real one, what's that? It'll be like me, a silhouette of me on Dunkin', right? It's like, who you fooling? Or to quote, what's my man, 2 Chainz, right? Yeezy ain't made them, right? So again, most people who, and again, this is not a knock, but you may be to fool somebody, but subscribers, the people who you're looking for adulation from, they know they're fake. And rep sounds like a soft way of saying fake, right? But yeah, yes.
Doesn't matter to you, the person, they're wearing them, but they're not presenting them as really, they get asked about their reps, or they just the appearance that. That's important part to it. I know, again, there's always discussion about reps versus real, people want to wear the shoe, may not be able to afford them, but if they're asked, yeah, it's definitely right. I'm not gonna start it off as fake or I'll serve you, this is definitely right.
So normally so my thought, if somebody, people do them, right? I know that now what I do find strange now is that there's not the stigma attached to reps is lessened now. And a lot of that comes with the social pressure. There's a lot of social pressure still. If someone, you mean they're up front, they're being up front, oh, yo, what's going on, yo? Yeah, I'm fresh in my reps, right? I mean, I look at the same, right? But again, I'm not gonna dislike or hate on someone for wearing it. It's just that I wouldn't do it, right? The same way. Now, let me give you something you didn't ask that I do have an issue with. For real, I really have an issue with it. Juventus, I'm a Juventus fan when it comes to soccer, right? Adidas has for years, when I was a child, have attached lifestyle. I think Adidas does lifestyle better than what Nike could dream. It's just naturally what they do. They read the genesis of lifestyle and performance. So on campus, I know it's probably a few years ago more popular, but people are walking around in Adidas Tyro pants, like the soccer training pants. Okay, dope pants, slim silhouette, which was in line with fashion at the time. Seeing someone wear those pants and not wearing Adidas, like eats like a kitten dies every time someone does that, right? Like I personally have a problem. And I'm not going to be like, oh, there's a student in my class wearing a pair of Jordan 5s with Adidas pants. He's about to get a D. No, it's not that serious. But if I'm out in public and I see that and I'm like, oh, then I'll make a joke like something like, oh, homeless chic is in style today, right? And I'm being facetious. I'm not going around saying homeless chic is legitimately in style. I have more problem with that. That's authentic subscription. Like, yeah, like, I'm gonna tell you something else real quick. Let me ask you all this, just to help me, please. Okay, I referenced Lexus earlier. If you had, let's say you drove whatever car you drove, a Lexus, right? And let's say you bent a rim, or you bent 3 rims, or you bent 4 rims on a curb by accident, something. You had to buy new rims. Would you put Toyota rims on a Lexus? Why not? You say no, why not?
Just because like it seems, look, even though I know that Toyota is owned by, well, Lexus is owned by Toyota, it don't even like, I feel like it wouldn't even look right. Like, cause it's just like when people see your car and they see the Toyota on it, they just not gonna like, it's not even like, that's not even gonna match most people who don't even know, like.
See my eyebrows curling up like the Grinch? Okay. And why would you wear Nike socks with Jordans? Because Jordan legitimately is a luxury brand of Nike. And that, like, people hate Jordan socks. I'm like, you love Jordan brand so much, but you hate his socks. Like, it burns me up. I look at it that way. Like, for example, I know you might be like, well, I'm wearing a pair of 4s with a swoosh on the back, dog. Okay, cool. Little justification in that. And I'm hardcore with the history, but here's the thing. I look at it as being personally, just like posing, right? Like how deep into this are you? And then some of you like, that's real extra. And it may be, but if someone wearing reps, they're just wearing reps. Somebody wearing some Nike socks and some Jordan, or worse, wearing some Nikes or some Jordans with some Adidas gear. Like, why are you dressed like the JCPenney catalog when I was in 4th grade? But again, to each his own. But it's like personally how I feel about that. Yes.
I feel like you only do that just to still chaos. Yeah, I mean, before you just do that, like either you just don't care, or you just drive on negativity.
That's a good answer. Anybody? So I know this is really like, do people wear? Do you all wear like mismatched socks on purpose?
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. And I get maybe a laundry day, you go to the mail, but whatever. I get that. I know they make socks like that, like they'll purposely because of the trend. I was like, yo, like, yes, like one of the people like you mentioned, you're still in chaos, causing problems. If you don't identify with that, there's probably something that people do that you do identify. There's a subgroup of people who don't like their food to touch, right? And they don't like to see other people's food touch. My whole thing is, it's going to touch in here, so why not touch out there, right? Or let's see, real quick, since we're talking about anything specific that outside of sneakers that you just like, that gets my goat, that irks my nerves. Anything?
Doing too much.
What do you mean?
What is doing over what's needed. So like if you let's say I just need to give you food, it's like you start like doing some banter between me. I just want the food, right in front of me, just give it to me, like you just make me work for it.
Okay. Which made me think, let me ask you all this. Anybody ever been in class with somebody who's like shining? And I don't mean like me because it's like perspiration, but like answering every question. Again, that's cool. Be vocal in class, but do you have an issue when someone's going hard in class? Like, who knows what George Washington had for breakfast? which is a real book, by the way. What George Washington's Breakfast. I remember it from 3rd grade. And they were hoe cakes, legitimately, like the food hoe cakes. Not what's that? The song, but like listen, anyway. But the point is, when someone's in class, what they call shining, right? Like, yo, dude, when we get out in 50 minutes, like, really? We know you read, right? We know you did this and that. There's some people who are bothered by that, but yeah, I'm bothered by when people mix brands purposely like it's fresh. And again, to each his own, right? I'm not going to condemn someone, but like, hey, run up on that dude with the Jordans on with the Tyro pants, dog, right? I don't mean that, but I'm just like, there are rules to fashion. The same way if someone's wearing a suit, a 3-button suit and all 3 buttons buttoned up, there's going to be someone looking at him like, oh, look who put on their first suit today, right? There are rules within fashion, written and unwritten. There are usually rules written and unwritten about everything. But again, for somebody wearing reps, cool. For somebody mixing brands, not so much. Go ahead.
I have a follow-up question. Do you have a brand that you consider like neutral or something that you think doesn't mix up, or do you have like a?
You mean like a shoe brand? Like a shoe brand?
Yeah.
Technically, okay. I guess a technical answer to that. Champion is a clothing brand that makes shoes, right? So if you had on a Champion sweatpants with some Adidas or Nikes, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. But if you had on a pair of Adidas Tyro pants with some Vans,
Just kind of thought like also, personally, I think of like New Balance as a pretty like neutral brand, so not dependent, but very dependent. Because I wouldn't wear Adidas pants because I don't like the stripe going down.
Yeah.
Like if it was like a black Nike, black Nike, like straight cut sweatpant,
Mhm.
and it ends like right above the ankle, and you just have New Balances on. I feel like because the ones I wear specifically have like a logo right here. Nothing else will tell. And New Balance are just like they just.
So nondescript, kind of like nondescript.
Yeah, and that's what I think. But overall, I think New Balance is like I think has a pretty neutral dependent on it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm talking to you from the perspective of a 46-year-old administrator, associate professor. You feel me? Like rules change, like generational things change. And I'm not knocking someone like, oh my gosh, like you're lesser than, you're not in this game for real. You're not an OG. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, like from my perspective. And again, I understand a lot of fashion, and we know this, fashion is generated by rebellion, like youth culture. And youth culture, a lot of stuff that's hot now, or like that's been hot for years, came out of the same thing that's causing people to mix brands. It's just that's one of the things I just can't get with. Yes.
If you don't like mixing brands, how do you feel about like over branding? Like personally, like I wear like a Nike Tech. I wouldn't want to wear like Nike shoes depending on the day, because then I don't want to look like I just bought like a Nike shoes.
Okay. So what we call that, like in Greek culture, in Panhill Greek culture, is like multiple forms. We call it multiple forms of paraphernalia, right? And so here's the thing. I mean, same way.
But if a Neo is wearing like 3 pieces of nail, you're gonna get those on.
And listen. I agree. Listen, I both of you. Yeah, listen, I agree with both. Listen, I get it. Because hold on.
He's head to toe Sigma gear. I'm excited because I'm like, you still on the crack, like 60 years in.
So here's the thing. So I'm going to tie this into your answer. So, and this is what a perfect mix of like two cultures that literally the same thing. So you meet like old school Sigma, right? You see old school come in. Nobody's going to check old school. Like, are you hoping the old school treats you? Yeah, right. It's almost like they've earned the right to be kind of ill, like to be. I don't use the term whack, but you get where I'm coming from, right? They've earned that right. And usually, the older you get, the more inclined you are to do that. Now, to answer your specific, so let's say you said like a Nike Tech suit, right? Okay, this is how. Okay, Nike Tech suit, Nike's normal. This may not be. okay? Well, I shouldn't say that. This, not take the normal part, just strike that from the record. Let's say Nike shoes, Nike tech suit, Nike t-shirt underneath, and the tech suit is open, Nike hat. What else Nike can you have? Like a lanyard? Nike glasses. You might have, like, you know how people put like the stickers, like the vinyl stickers in their car, like the window, that going on. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Like now it's to the point where it's like 15 sprays or minimum. Like when people with cologne or whatever, it's like, yo, let me 20 creative vintage, dog. They go smell the king has arrived. Right. So I mean, you can overdo anything, right? But there's a thin line, or there's a correlation between that and what happens in Greek culture. Because again, usually how I came in the game is like, okay, if you got a jacket on, that's it, right? Jacket, white tee, like you pretty much the jacket is your million, not something like a jacket, a hat, a lanyard, a tee. Listen, if you were going to a Chicago Bulls game, okay, let's say you had a Bulls satin jacket on and you had a Bulls t-shirt under that, you might as well be like in me paying hell. I'm thinking like you Greek, like it's the same rules. Like, yo, you got a Bulls jacket and a shirt on, dog. Like, who's Bob Love, dog? Like, and then I'm starting thinking like, how hardcore are you into this? Almost like a check. Like, what do you know, right? But yeah, you can overdo it. Again, that's different standards for different people. Yeah. One more, two? Yes, that's one.
You think that they still have
I was waiting for this question. Yes, let me tell you why. Because eventually the think of like gentrification, but with sneakers, right? Eventually, when the value drops, the individuals who aren't authentic subscribers will leave. If we go back to the 70s and think of how hot the pet rock got, like people were selling, like the company selling rocks, like, oh, this is your pet rock. This was a big deal. And then people was like, wait a minute, this is whack. I'm not buying it anymore. And people stopped caring. When the inauthentic subscribers stop inauthentically subscribing, it will return to the essence. How long that's going to take, I have no idea. But we already see the oversaturation, right? When you see like, last thing, this is it. This is what happened. This is what killed disco. I routinely bring this up when I talk about sneaker culture or even hip hop, right? What really killed disco was when people were just jumping on the disco train, right? Ethel Merman, there's no business like show business, right? When she dropped the disco album, it was pretty much like, all right, SpongeBob, I'm a head out meme, right? And that's what's literally happened in sneaker culture. You're starting to see like grandpas and grandmas getting fresh and Bape and Supreme. Not saying it didn't look fresh, because it does, but you're like, wait a minute. Like, how does my great uncle have a shoe that how did he hit on something I couldn't hit on? And again, when older generations do it, it instantly becomes not hot. So it will return to the essence. Because that's what youth culture, again, it goes back to youth culture and rebellion, which is tied into fashion. So eventually it will return to the essence. That bubble's pretty fat. I don't know when it's going to pop, but when it does, back to the essence. Okay, one more. Okay.
Some brands have already started like coming and dropping. I'll say like specifically Supreme has like kind of been like their prices stay pretty much the same as other streetwear brands have been like jacking up their prices, but like the shit that they put out, it's hot. I feel like it is very nice, and like once you get away from like, oh, the Supreme is corny, it's like it's IDB stuff. They're putting out quality stuff, and like the prices are still like relatively the same, at least from like comparatively to other brands. A lot of startups that are coming up where it's like you get like a one-of-one piece that's like $500, but like they still have their expensive stuff, but like the stuff that is pretty affordable. Like
It's great, like, it was different, they collab with like whoever did the best player was doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and then how many people wearing Supreme even knew that like started as a skateboard shop, though, you know what I mean? Like, it's so divorced from like.
What same thing with culture, sneaker culture, right? How many people know the Air Jordan 3 was the Air Jordan Revolution, right? Same thing.
Greenhouse, the skate shop in town, they had a Jordan account up to the skate shop. In Blacksburg, Virginia had a Jordan account. And they had an SB account. They could have got visions, they could have got all that stuff.
You say it had,
Right down here.
they had or they still have?
They lost it.
Okay.
Nike was like what we were talking about, right? They weren't buying the stuff that was.
Yeah. And he got pinched. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. First of all, I humbly and I graciously thank you for having me, A, for B, for your interaction. There's a song, DJ Quicks has a song called Just Like Compton, right? And the thesis of the song is he was talking about when he was out on tour, if he didn't know better, he was talking about how gangbanging had spread across the United States. And he was like, yo, Cleveland, it's just like Compton, St. Louis. But the point it was saying is like that my home is pretty much everywhere because these elements are my home. And I actually or authentically feel at home today, like legit. I know that hip hop is thriving here. I know that the culture is thriving here. Clearly, I know that pedagogy is thriving here. But I humbly and graciously thank you for having me. You made my 2020. It's early in the year, okay? Not saying it won't get made again, but you've made my 2023. So thank you for having me.
And you don't stop.
The question was asked, if I could read one piece of literature from the book, what would it be? So I'll do this. I started each and every year with a brand new pair. What if each shoebox had a book in there? On the first day of school, it would be my only care to flaunt my brand new knowledge like a pair of Nike Air.
What? Thank you so much, Dr. Jermaine.
Oh.
Oh yeah, so our next event, my bad, sorry. Stay on the lookout for VTDITC Sankofa listening party on the April 16th. Oh, and oh yeah, my bad. I also forgot studio hours every Wednesday, 2 to 5, 4 through $3.99. And volume 42 as well. On the 15th. And feel free to take some stickers as well.